The next time the Oklahoma City Thunder lose a game, I'm going to be shocked. I know it is inevitably going to happen, but I'll be damned if I'll ever see it coming. The next time they lose is going to be different than when any other great team of this decade has lost. With all those other teams, you knew they were just going to drop one sometimes. It's impossible to win almost every single game in the NBA, especially in today's league, with stars missing more time, higher three-point volume, and the swings in shooting variance leading to more unpredictable individual game outcomes. With such impressive depth of talent league-wide and the inevitable malaise that hits almost everyone in waves over an 82-game season, everyone's going to get got from time to time for one reason or another. But this Thunder team is completely different. They genuinely feel invincible. Not only are they 24-1, tied for the best start to a season ever by record, they are the first team in any 25-game span in NBA history, period, to go 24-1 with at least a plus 420 point differential. They are also not only currently on a 16-game win streak, already tied for the second longest of the 2020s, but in that time, they have the best point differential over any 16-game span in NBA history. Coming on the heels of the era of parity, in which there were no 65-win teams for 6 full seasons before OKC did it last year, the Thunder are winning every game they play, and they are doing so in the most dominant fashion we've ever seen. The Thunder currently have a plus 17.2 net rating. That would be the best of all time by so far that the gap between them and second place, the 1996 Bulls, if you're familiar, is the same as the gap between the 96 Bulls and the team in 20th. But get this, the historically unparalleled dominance the Thunder are unleashing on the league right now is even more impressive because they began the season with an injury to an All-NBA player in Jalen Williams, and they've gone 18-1 in his absence. In comparison, all other NBA teams this year, when missing a player who made an All-NBA team last season, have gone a combined 47-50. But even without their second best player from last season, OKC has been unbeatable. Literally, because their only loss occurred when they were also without Chet Holmgren, who was on an All-NBA pace this season, and they were without a perennial starter, Lou Dort, and they were without the best defensive guard on the planet, Alex Caruso. That is what it took for them to lose once by 2 points in a game they still probably should have won. In their successful quest to never lose this season, no matter what, OKC has also proven to be uniquely impervious to the aforementioned three-point shooting variance that leads to more wild swings game to game in today's NBA. That's a reason that even a great team like the 2024 Celtics, who had the 6th best net rating ever, quote-unquote, only won 64 games. They put up a ton of threes, so when they were hot from deep, they would obliterate teams, and they were hot a lot, leading the NBA in three-point percentage as statistically the greatest collective three-point shooting team ever. But the Celtics were bound to go cold from three sometimes because it's just a higher variance shot. And given how much they relied on the three ball, their losses overwhelmingly came on those cold outside shooting nights, or when their opponent simply outperformed them from beyond the arc. Their ceiling was crazy high, but their floor was lower because that three-point shooting variance could get them. And I bring up the Celtics just because they're such an extreme example of this phenomenon, but this is a reality league-wide. With the three-point volume we're seeing in today's NBA, it's really hard to win if you shoot under 35% from three. Oh, I mean that for everybody else, of course. When OKC shoots under 35% from deep, they're undefeated, 10-0. There is a strong argument the Thunder have the highest regular season floor in NBA history. Whether they're missing key guys, on the road, having an off three-point shooting night, all the things that cause even the best mortal teams to fall short on certain nights, OKC simply cannot get got this season, and they feel like almost a sure thing to become the first team to put together a 20-game win streak in a decade. But why are they so untouchable? Well, to start with, they have a defense that I'm ready to pronounce the best we've seen since the 60s Celtics. OKC currently boasts a defensive rating 12.3 points better than league average. That actually surpasses the 64 Celtics for the best relative defensive rating in NBA history. And it means the statistical gap right now between them and the next best relative defense of the last 30 years, the 04 Spurs, is the same as the difference between number 2 and number 69 in that time. Nice. And compared to the current number 2 defense in the NBA this season, the Thunder are 7.4 points better in defensive rating, which means the gap between OKC and number 2 is bigger than the gap between number 2 and number 24. That's the Charlotte Hornets, by the way. That margin between the Thunder and the next best defense in the league is the second biggest we've ever seen, trailing only the 65 Celtics. So clearly, they are producing literal GOAT level results defensively. And I've already spoken so much about OKC's defense over the last couple years, so I'll keep things brief here as to why they're so insane. But they have the deepest collection of stellar defensive talent in NBA history. They have 5 legitimate all-defense caliber defenders: Chet, Caruso, Dort, J-Dub, and Kaysen, which we've never seen before, and they simply go deeper with positive defenders than any team ever. They are quite literally constantly, and by that I truly mean every second, fielding airtight, dominant defensive lineups. Through a combination of demonic perimeter speed, suffocating ball pressure, physicality, and switchability that makes them the best in the league at eliminating dribble penetration, plus their swarming team defense, as their collective speed, length, and IQ allows them to play extremely aggressive off-ball, shrinking the floor for opponents and covering insane amounts of ground, plus the superhuman rim protection of one of the league's best in Chet Holmgren, they simply shut off the rim to opposing offenses. OKC allows the fewest attempts per game at the rim, and they hold opponents to the lowest field goal percentage at the rim in the NBA. They also just cause more havoc than any other defense probably in NBA history for all the aforementioned reasons. Speed and instincts first off. They are literally the fastest defense I've ever seen with the best collective hands, and they're crazy aggressive with great length and physicality. More so than maybe any other defense ever, it feels like they are the unit on the attack. They are the ones hunting the offense. So they don't just completely take you out of your game and stop you from scoring. They force you into turnovers at the highest rate in the NBA. This is what makes their defense even more valuable than their already literal best of all time relative defensive rating suggests. OKC is scoring 25 points per game off opponent turnovers. That tops even the mark they set last year, and it's the most in the play-by-play era. Turnovers, especially steals, are even more valuable than your average stop because they lead to more transition opportunities for your offense. So not only has this OKC defense been statistically the best ever at getting stops relative to era, their defense also helps their offense more than any team ever. I already considered last year's OKC defense to be among the top 5 ever, and now that their best defender, Chet, has been totally healthy compared to last season when he missed 50 games, their metrics this year have gotten even better in every way, even as J-Dub has barely played and Dort and Caruso have both missed a chunk of games. Their schedule has been light so far, but OKC just had one of the most dominant end-to-end defensive seasons ever, and they have the most top-to-bottom defensive talent ever. So I genuinely believe these best ever metrics can pretty much hold up. I do feel almost certain that no defense will ever sustain the sort of dominance that the 60 Celtics did over an entire decade. But if we are just talking about the greatest single season defenses ever, the 2026 Thunder are starting to build an actual GOAT case. Frankly, I struggle to imagine anybody could surpass the 64 or 65 Celtics there, but here we are. Yet one GOAT level component isn't enough for OKC, because on the other end, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is also having one of the best seasons ever. I just made a video about Shai, so I'll try to keep things really brief here. If you've noticed, I cannot stop talking about the Thunder because I cannot stop thinking about the Thunder because they will not stop doing mind-blowing shit. But at the volume he produces at, Shai is having the most efficient on-ball season ever and the most efficient scoring season ever. Among all 32-point-per-game scorers in NBA history, Shai currently has the best ever 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage, effective field goal percentage, and relative true shooting percentage, reaching completely untouched levels of scoring efficiency across the board. You've heard of 50, 40, 90. How about 60% on 2-pointers, over 45% on 3-pointers, and 88% on 10 free throws a game? How about reaching these levels of efficiency while self-creating the most offense in the NBA with a 100th percentile true shooting percentage on self-created attempts? But how about even that sells him short, because he also averages by far the fewest turnovers of any 30-point per game scorer ever at just 1.8 per game. All that together means that more so than any other on-ball player ever, every single possession, Shai is getting a great shot up. And his raw scoring numbers sell him short too, because OKC is blowing teams out so much that he's only playing 33 minutes per game. On a per possession basis, Shai is scoring the second most points in a season in NBA history. Here's the reality. We may just be looking at the greatest regular season scoring campaign ever. And with Shai's improved processing and playmaking and his ability to take a huge on-ball load on and generate a great shot every possession as he does so, OKC has flat out one of the best offensive engines ever in Shai. He's leading them to a 125 offensive rating when he's on the floor, which is better than the number one offense in the NBA. But even better, Shai's possession-to-possession dominance and his style predicated upon overwhelming inside-the-arc excellence, which is so reliable, also makes him arguably the most consistent scorer ever. He's currently boasting by far the longest streak of consecutive 20-plus point games by any guard ever. That's the thing. Shai's scoring and this OKC defense are not just both GOAT level, they're as consistent as any we've ever seen, which is why this team's floor is possibly the highest of any team ever. You know what you're getting from them every night in a truly unparalleled way, and GOAT level scorer plus GOAT level defense equals one of the best teams ever. Those two factors are the biggest and most obvious in OKC's historic greatness, but they have a couple more nuanced yet crucial superpowers that are admittedly also driven by the defense and Shai. But between their unparalleled ability to force turnovers on defense and Shai's unparalleled ability to prevent them on offense, OKC is plus 9.9 points per game in the scoring margin off turnovers. That's the best mark in the play-by-play era. Interrelated with that, their ability to turn live ball turnovers into transition offense and prevent the inverse, combined with their general athletic, speed-driven dominance in the full court on both ends, especially when it comes to keeping opposing offenses out of transition. OKC is plus 5.7 points per game in the transition margin. Not as crazy, but an elite mark. So because they dominate so thoroughly in those areas every night, OKC might as well walk into every game up 10 to 15 points on the scoreboard already. That margin they build into every game is just another element that raises that absurdly high floor of theirs. OKC's depth is also genuinely exceptional. They have 7 or 8 guys who you could seriously argue are like top 100 players, and they go 11 deep with legitimate rotation players, particularly guys who excel on the defensive end. This is why they are still so completely dominant even when missing a guy or 2 or sometimes 3. Shai carries the offense to elite heights no matter what, and their defensive personnel is deep enough that they're going to excel on that end no matter what. In fact, this is how the Thunder have boasted a ridiculous plus 16 net rating with Shai off the court this year, excluding garbage time. Their offense takes a massive step back in his absence, but their defense has been so unfathomably good that they're still whooping teams in those minutes. Now that number is crazy and it's not going to hold up for the full season, but it speaks to their top to bottom excellence, and they will continue to win those non-Shai minutes undoubtedly. Their depth will crush other teams' depth. But their plus 21 net rating in minutes with Shai on the court, which would be the single best on-court net rating any player has posted in NBA history in a season, I absolutely believe that can hold. Shai already set a top 5 mark in NBA history for plus minus per game last season, and this season he's on pace to crush the record there, because of course he is. The Thunder are also on pace to win 30 games this season by 20 or more points, which would be the all-time record. But the thing is, as much as they are blowing teams out at unparalleled rates, OKC has also been by far the best clutch team in the NBA. They are 9-1 in clutch games with a plus 41 clutch net rating, number 2 in clutch defense, and number 1 by far in clutch offense. With his masterful 3-level scoring, and particularly his dominant isolation and intermediate game, Shai has one of, if not the most perfect clutch scoring skill sets ever. So he is, of course, by far leading the league in clutch points per game on absurd efficiency. He is also better at valuing every possession than any player ever. And in the clutch, this man has 87 points and 1 turnover. And that is even more valuable when things get tight, margin shrinks, and every possession matters just a little bit more late in close games. So it feels like a miracle to just keep it close with OKC. But if you can do that, then Shai just ruthlessly executes you as he's on pace to have the best clutch season ever. And as high as I was on him already last year, Shai reaching this level, playing essentially perfect basketball, makes it almost impossible for me to imagine any team beating OKC in a best-of-7 series. Coming into the year, I already considered the Thunder a clear, strong title favorite, but the team I felt had the best chance to upset them was the Nuggets, because I thought if anybody could do it, then it would have to be Jokic rising to a truly special level, playing like the clear best player in the world to somehow overcome the juggernaut. Denver is still my number 2 title contender because somebody has to be, but executing that formula feels so unlikely because Shai has been every bit as good as Jokic this season. Best in the world is a dead heat between these two. Shai is now at one of the 10 or so highest peaks in the history of this game. So the notion that Jokic, or frankly, any player in NBA history could soundly outplay Shai over a series to overcome the combination of him plus this defense just doesn't seem possible right now. OKC has the perfect winning formula. So, to answer the question in the title, are we watching the best team ever right now? Well, this team is certainly off to the best start to a season ever through 25 games. Even the 2016 Warriors, who also started 24-1, just did not match OKC's dominance in terms of margin, posting a plus 13.1 net rating in that stretch compared to OKC's plus 17.2 net rating. And of course, OKC has done that mostly without an All-NBA player, while the Warriors were in excellent health. The Thunder are on pace to obliterate many big records. Shai is on pace to set scoring efficiency records galore, and the defense is simply outpacing the league by the widest margin we've ever seen statistically. And of course, when it comes to the biggest records that measure team dominance in the regular season, wins and net rating, not only is OKC on pace to break them, not only do I think they can break them, I almost expect it. Barring an injury to Shai, God forbid, who's been one of the NBA's most available stars, there is nothing you can point to that I can see slowing this team down. Hell, they already have more wins in the absence of one reigning All-NBA player than any team to ever win 65 games in a season. OKC's dominance so far is unprecedented, and you would think good health luck would be a prerequisite for that, but it hasn't been. And they're doing this in an era in which it is extremely difficult to win in the high 60s and beyond, but they already did that last year, and they're clearly so much better this year. For all these reasons, it actually seems likely to me that this Thunder team puts together the greatest regular season resume ever. But ultimately, you cannot declare a team the best ever. Forget 25 games in, but in the regular season period. What matters most is, can they reach the heights of utter playoff supremacy of the 2017 Warriors, the greatest collection of offensive talent and talent period in NBA history, a team that was known by all to be literally unfair? Obviously, we'll just have to see. I don't know if, with the chips down, any team will ever surpass those 2017 Warriors. But I will say that, as stupid as this may sound, and as many times as I've said it about the Thunder over these last couple years, as ridiculously good as they've already been, I still think we haven't seen their absolute best. Thinking about this season alone, J-Dub just got healthy, but big picture, Shai continues to get better every season and is only 27. Chet continues to get better and is only 23, with considerably more upside still to tap into. And OKC's depth of unbelievably team-friendly role player contracts and rich pile of draft picks puts them in an unprecedentedly great position to continue to replenish talent. So much has come together so perfectly that it's almost hard to believe, a testament to pure organizational brilliance, and perhaps a little good luck too, but mostly the former. So, whether it's this year or in the future, if any team ever has a chance to become the new GOAT, well, you're looking at them.